We go back to our business reporter, Francis Hurt, to give us more on that appointment of David van Rooyen. Now, good evening, Francis. The reshuffling was quite sudden. Did you see this coming?
I didn't see this coming. A lot of investors didn't see this coming, Tabila, and the reaction has just been incredible and very worrying this evening, especially if you look at the rand. So when I left work, we looked at the rand shortly after the close. 14.54 to the dollar, which is already very weak. Our currency has struggled this year, and we've seen all-time lows recently. A lot of global factors, a lot of local factors. And people were wondering what would happen to our rand when the worst happened. What we thought was the worst this year was the United States raising interest rates. There's been a lot of anticipation about what that would do to our rand because it makes America more attractive to investors, us less attractive. Based on that, there was speculation. Could our rand hit 15 to the dollar? And I can just tell you, Tabila, that tonight the rand shooting through 15 rand to the dollar. We haven't even got to the U.S. interest rate. This is a very strong reaction to what the president announced, the basic firing of Nhlanhla Nene. That's what it's being seen as because there was no reasons given as to why he was reshuffled and he was singled out.
Francis, now economic data which has come out in the past a couple of weeks has been mostly negative. Any predictions for the final quarter of the year considering where we are now? You've just mentioned that the rand has hit an all-time low of 15 rand to the dollar.
Yeah, so this just makes things harder for South Africa. Imports become more expensive. We know right now because of the drought, we're importing things like food. We're doing some important imports, for instance, for infrastructure. We're importing trains. The more the rand goes down, the more we see inflation. Inflation is one of the things that our finance officials, including Nhlanhla Nene, has been worried about. So inflation pushes through. We don't want those prices to spiral upwards. So what we're talking about is an interest rate hike, another one early next year. This just makes that so much more likely. And then it comes to the way we're seen by investors. This reaction is bad. It's not being taken well. Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene was seen as somebody who was at least steadying the ship. There was a crisis. There was concerns about our economy, but he was worried about not taking us into too much debt. And that at least has prevented us from being downgraded into the so-called junk status. We saw our credit ratings fall, but we haven't hit that non-investment grade yet. When our borrowing costs become even higher, that takes money away from the budget. So yeah, people will be seeing what does this mean for the way the South African economy will be managed, an economy in a very difficult position. And it's not great just because of the effects of the weak rand as well.
Francis, you've just mentioned that Minister Nhlanhla Nene was big on making sure that the country doesn't fall into too much debt. But in your view, what do you think were some of his maybe mistakes or some of his shortfalls that might have led to this?
He followed his predecessors. He was seen as a conservative finance minister. If anything, the criticism of his last budget was that it was pretty bland, that given the state of the economy, government needed to be thinking out of the box and doing things differently and being much more innovative, being much more strong because we have this unemployment problem, we have poverty. So that was one of the criticisms, but he was mostly, I would say, and it depends who you ask, obviously, in the investment community, he was well respected for at least being that steady hand and for being concerned about debt. That's crucial, something that the credit rating agencies believe is crucial because the The more money you have in reserve, basically, the stronger you are as an economy. The more debt you take on, the more vulnerable you are. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of speculation about why he left, especially in the middle of the storm. There will be speculation that this could be political because it comes after his speculated clash with the chair of SAA. It comes after reports that he pushed back against nuclear plans. That is all speculation. We don't know why he's going. But I can't find any big mistakes, and certainly in the investor community, he was respected for being that strong, steady hand.
Francis, just finally, I want us to look at David van Rooyen. We earlier spoke to chief economist at Investment Solutions, and he was saying that he has no idea who David van Rooyen is. Do you think that this is playing a role in the shock factor?
Yes, because a lot of investors are saying, who is this person? He's been called a backbencher. And of course he's not. He's just not well known. We have now learned that he's the whip of the Standing Committee on Finance in Parliament. So surely he has some standing when it comes to finance. He's a former mayor of Merafong Municipality, and social media, very interesting tonight. A lot of the opposition parties climbing in, and Mbazima Shalowa, a former ANC premier who then left the party, basically said he was a useless mayor, and he had to leave. But that is his history. That's just some of the criticism coming through. The main concern, yes, is that this is a man. He's not coming up through the ranks of the Treasury like Nene did. He followed on from Pravin Gordhan. We sort of knew who the successor was. There was no bolt from the blue. His name was in the hat at the time. David van Rooyen, for many people tonight, is just a complete unknown.
Francis, it'll be interesting to see how this story develops. Thank you so much for joining us on New World. That was SABC business reporter Francis Hurd giving us an update on the appointment of new Finance Minister David van Rooyen.